This is the Not So Korean podcast with Jay and Tim. I am Jason Verney.
And this is Timothy Ohm.
In this podcast series, we talk to one another and sometimes with special guests about what we know about Korea,
What we don't know about Korea,
what we want to know about Korea,
and occasionally what we don't want to know about Korea.
As you probably know, and as we always say, we usually record this live in UK's Koreatown itself. That's an area in and around New Malden. Yes, that's the largest Koreatown and Korean community in Europe. But I must add a quick statement from me, Jay, before passing you over to myself, on the fly and on the move somewhere else. That being in the heart of Seoul, South Korea. Due to the nature of this episode, some segments, and in particular the sound quality, will differ slightly. Hopefully this won't affect your listening pleasure though. Basically, this episode is therefore made up of bits, a bit of bumbling from me and a little borrowing. The show has been edited together by using various recorded clips. That includes some of the intro you just heard. Oh, and in one or two clips, the fact that I was rather tired from the day itself, this may be evident when listening to me reviewing or rambling. Enjoy! A quick disclaimer, certain aspects of travel to South Korea will not apply as they did before. For example, this may be testing requirements. But other things, for example, getting from the airport to a hotel or getting to accommodation would still be relevant. Yeah, hi everyone, it's Jay here, or Jason. I wanted to just talk about the arrival of myself, arriving in Korea, basically, the arriving in Korea by somebody just like me, but in this case, actually me. Now, it's now not long gone 5 p.m. in mid-August, and I've arrived in my hotel in Jongno 3 area, which is not far from Seoul Station area, quite close to Anguk in Seoul, but I want to explain what happened and my experience of what happened. So my flight was actually a kind of night one. It left Bangkok, Thailand at 1:30 a.m. and it arrived, you've got to add on 2 hours, it arrived at 9:30 a.m. Bangkok time. I will just say that I got to this hotel at 3:30 p.m. So between 9:30 and 3:30, there was me arriving at the airport, going through immigration. Obviously there's more checks now. You have to do the QR code. Some of these things don't take very long at all, but the queuing does or can take long. It actually didn't feel very busy at all at the airport. But unlike Bangkok, when I left Bangkok airport, that was really busy. Or maybe it's just the part of the airport I was in. We were in with the flight from Bangkok to Seoul, Incheon International Airport, didn't seem that busy. So why did it take me 6 hours, first of all, to get from a landing on the plane to 3:30? Why did it take from 9:30 till 3:30? All that? Well, I'll explain a few parts of that. If you hear any noises, it's because I'm in a hotel room. You might even hear the whir of the aircon. I will say that it's now just... I had a terrible sort of time getting to this hotel. That's partly brought on by myself having 2 or 3 extra bags, or at least 3 bags, and I probably didn't need that many. But as I approached the hotel, or in the stress and frustration of trying to find it, first of all with using Google Maps, and then thinking, well, no, let's use Naver apps, because Naver Maps, is a Korean app, and Naver does tend to be slightly better, or quite a lot better than Google Maps. So this is Korea. They have this very, obviously it's a homogenous society, but not only that, they have their own apps for loads of things. Like they have Katalk, or Kakatalk, people call it, the messaging app, which is only really in Korea. Of course, it's used outside of Korea, especially since all the Korean, I hate to use the word Hallyu, but I guess it's part of the Korean wave. I've been using Kakatalk for over a decade. Anyway, I'm drifting off the subject, but what I will say is, I was frustrated. The bags were getting really on my nerves. Bear in mind, this is summer. As I say, the aircon's on, but the rain, if I can open this window now, let me just do this. It's not raining, but it was, and it seems to be pouring, then stopping, then pouring, then stopping. Unlike where I was a few hours ago in Thailand, which it did rain. It wasn't raining every day. It's called the rainy season this time of year in Thailand. But, when it rained, or it just spat and it stopped. It didn't sort of stop and start too much, really. I mean, I didn't notice it, but I've just noticed it stopping and starting here. Back to the airport, there was some other things to mention as well, which caused pain for me, if you like, for my flight from Thailand to Korea. But I'll try and go into that towards the end. Why did it take 6 hours? Right, well, I just lost a bit of recording there. Quite a bit of recording, so I'm going to try and remember what I've just said that I didn't get recorded and follow on from what I was saying. There are some things in the airport that did take me time to make it 6 hours from the time I arrived to the time I got to the hotel. So one of those, let's try and speed this up. One thing I didn't mention, so just as well I'm re-recording it, I did stop to get a bite to eat, which is slightly outside the airport bit, but on the way to the airport link part, I just couldn't. I thought I've got a long train drive and I've got to find my hotel. I'm going to need something. I had a chocolate muffin in my bag, but that wasn't going to do it. I was going to save that till I got to the hotel. Believe me, I needed something like that. And so one of the things was the SIM card. Now, previously, when I'd come to Korea, or the last time I came to Korea, I got a SIM card. I don't know who was selling it. I can't remember. You bought the SIM card. You got a little bit of money on it, but then when that ran out, as and when the card was still valid, you just needed to top it up every time you needed some. Yes, it was a bit of a pain because only certain shops would do it, certain 7-Elevens or certain CU shops. At CU, it's a well-known brand over here, like Family Mart and stuff. They would do that. But this particular concern, I went to there's this kind of KT, SK, Olay. They're three of the networks in Korea. And one of them, KT, I went to that because that's got a good kind of deal. You either get sort of, I don't know, I'm trying to translate this into English money. You either pay like a day, that's £4, or 5 days, that's £17, and it goes up, or 30 in various different instalments, but increments, and then 30 days is about £45 anyway. And so I paid for a 5-day one, thinking, great, I'll pay £17. Now, if I realise in 5 days that I'm going to have enough Wi-Fi access and I don't really need this data like I thought I would, I will just stop it and restart it. Now, so I bought this, they put the SIM in and everything, and I walked away thinking, oh, hang on a minute, because I remember reading something online, because I was going to pre-order a SIM. You can also do that. A lot of people are saying do that because there's a lot of issues with regards to PCRs and PCR results. Like they should have your number so they can give you your results. You have your hotel number, but then there's no reliability, it's not a guarantee. I did give my hotel number, so I read that no, even if you've got an email, that should be enough for them to send you your PCR test result. Hopefully it's negative. Of course, I did one in Thailand as well, which was negative. So as far as I know, I should be all right. I'm still waiting on my test results. I'll know in the next hour or two, hopefully. But I will also, just to backtrack, I will say in Thailand they were really good, brilliant. It was like £35, very efficient. Everything is there. I had to even pay a visit to a hospital. Everything was efficient. Yes, sure, you pay for stuff, you pay your way, as opposed to the NHS in the UK. But what I'm saying is, I got a test there. I did a test here. They're really good here as well. I'm not dissing. I'm not putting down Korea. They're very good, very efficient. They take your money. Give you a ticket, take your payment. The people that are doing the test got a face behind the glass. They've got those, they put their hands through those sort of rubber glove thingies and they poke a thing up your nose and that's it. In Thailand, they poked a thing up your both nostrils. I say a thing because I can't think straight right now. And then in Thailand, they also did your mouth as well, but here they didn't. Going back to that, I'm just saying that was one of the reasons that would delay me getting to where I am now in the hotel. But also going back to the phone, so I walked away having got that SIM and I suddenly realised, hang on a minute, this card expires when those 5 days are up, or whatever amount of days you've bought, which means then the only way you can keep it going is by buying more. Now the thing is with that sounds great, but it means that you are constantly paying, and I wanted something I had before in Korea, my last visit, I believe, which, as I mentioned, you buy it, it's got something on it, when that runs out, it's fine if you don't top it up for 5-6 days. The card's still valid and you just top it up at certain places. And I will say as well that I've done various things on my trips to Korea. I've sometimes actually, hired a whole iPhone. So I've had 2 iPhones on me, and it's like, it's whatever it is, £50-60 for the month, but everything's there you want, it's all set up. Or I've hired one of those what they call it, a Wi-Fi egg. So it's just like a router, I suppose you say it is, antennae. So you carry it around with you, so your phone just connects to that. Yeah, I've done various things, and they're all great, but more expensive. But as I might have, well, I can't remember if I mentioned it already because I got cut off earlier. It might sound a lot, that money, but when you think about it, it's unlimited. It's really handy in Korea because you really need to be in contact with everyone. You might need to get a taxi on an app. You might need to get somebody on KakaoTalk. You might need to, receive a call. And these things, they allow you to do that. Otherwise, you're just relying on Wi-Fi and your own SIM, your own UK number SIM, I guess. Some people might be happy with that, but I know also that I'm going to places that aren't going to be, not Seoul basically, so not everywhere, even in Seoul, not everywhere will have the place that you want to access your stuff. So that was the SIM card aspect. Then there was the topping up of one of my many, 4 or so T-Money cards. Now they are the way to use the metro, the train, and metro basically, but also other things. You can buy things in certain shops, I believe, like 7-Elevens. Really handy. The good thing is they don't expire, as far as I'm aware, so you can bring your previous one over here and then just put money on it and you're ready to go again. I did that with one of mine. Subsequently, in between my getting on the metro and changing, I somehow tapped in somewhere, went to get my card out of my pocket, and I've lost it. Now, it's fair enough. I probably had £1 on there in when you translate how much that was in won. That's fine. It's just the card was quite nice. One of these Kakao ones, the Kakao Friends, if you know what I'm talking about. Korean animated emoticon friend thingies. So yeah, there was that element which I had to go and get that. I couldn't get money out of my ATM. The ATM, my card, which I was quite surprised at because my card hasn't let me down. All the time in Thailand, it hasn't let me down. It's one of these virtual banks sort of things, so you can use it anyway. You get less charges and all that kind of malarkey. So I had issues with that, and I say I did spend time going backwards and forwards with this phone. So I then upped it to. So from that 5 days, I then said, right, I'm getting quite stressed at this by this point. I didn't want to be because these guys are just doing their job, and I just thought, right, well, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to pay £44 for this month or thereabouts, and if I do want to use it at the end of it, great. If I just top it up by a little bit, or I'll just bang, I'm here for 2.5 months. If I end up spending another £45 for the next month, so be it. It's unlimited data, it's okay, as long as you do it before that period expires, it's fine. And that was with KT. I'm not promoting them. There's a couple of networks that do similar things. So after walking backwards and forwards, asking people, so I grabbed some food. I decided also to get the longer train to take me to Jongno 3. Now I'm probably not saying that right, but that's the area. It's only about 3 stops from Seoul Station. So basically, you've got 2 options. If you want to get a taxi, it's quite a lot. I think it's probably £35 or more, but I would never really do that now. Maybe years ago I did. But the airport rail link, even though I had bags, you can either pay, and I'm just quoting figures just from the air here, but maybe a £5 for the quick train that takes you, to Seoul Station, probably 15-20 minutes, or the longer train which takes over an hour, but it stops at every station, but it's a quarter of that price, I'd expect. So I opted for the slower one because, I had unlimited data on my phone. I wanted to sit down anywhere, and I thought, I'm prepared from when I get to Jongno 3. Now, when I got to Jongno area, let's just say, metro, I couldn't get out of it. I just couldn't find the exit. I knew that exit 6, from what I read online, and to do with the hotel I'm at, exit 6 was the nearest one. Now, it doesn't matter if you get the wrong exit because you can just, find where you are on GPS. I will say again, we'll say now, might have said it before, that Naver Maps is good. Google Maps works okay here. It's getting better, but always, as I mentioned, Naver Maps is better in South Korea than Google Maps is. Perhaps they're getting neck and neck now, but It's just how it is, you know, as I alluded to. They have their own kind of apps and their way of life, really. So that was another thing. So that train ride was a good hour and 10-15 minutes probably, and I left there, the airport, I remember it was 1:30, so already I'd been from 9:30 arriving to 1:30. That's 4 hours gone. Picking my luggage up didn't take very long at all. I just went there and found it. I mean, bearing in mind, had various queues and various people, you know, immigration, customs, all this stuff, and also the QR code, Q code they call it, but it is a QR code ultimately. So all this other stuff, and there was quite a few queues. Even though the flight that I was on, I was probably the only, maybe one of a couple or a handful of people that were non-Korean. So when you think about it, when there's a foreign passport, then there shouldn't be many people there. But there was another flight that had landed, at least, which there was a loads of non-Koreans on. So, you know, pull that together and it just takes longer. They ask you necessary stuff. As I might have said before, it used to be so much easier to get into Korea. Just arrive, maybe fill out 1 or 2 of those little slips, bang, you can stay here for 90 days. I've never stayed that long. I stayed 5 weeks before max, but this time I plan to stay for 2.5 months or thereabouts. So all these little things added up with the ATM and all this other stuff. I must have caught up with, I was catching up with water, so I just must have had 3 toilet breaks. I didn't want to get caught short when I went for the PCR test, and also not caught short on the train. And I mean, obviously I'm a grown man, I can deal with these things, but you know, when you're stressed and you're carrying heavy bags. So that's, you know, the 4 hours from getting off the plane to getting on the train or metro. You know, the other 2 hours, as I mentioned, was the metro itself, and then wandering around Jongno 3. I couldn't get out of the I couldn't find exit 6. I could find 7, 8, and then I found what I thought was 6, so I followed it, and it went, no, this elevator takes you 7 and 8, and even 7 and 8 was below ground and not above ground. I just couldn't get my head around what was going on. I asked a couple of people. This is not my first time. You know, you learn something new every time you come to Korea, and any country really, and in your own country you learn something new. But you know, I just couldn't find it. Eventually I got out. But the annoying thing was that the exit 6 has only steps. And something I will just touch on briefly is that one thing I've noticed, and one thing I knew the first time I visited here 10 years ago, you know, they do have this little handy little, next to steps, they've either got a little ramp which you just pull up your bag or pull it down while you're walking up the concrete steps or whatever. They've also got electronic things, so you just put your luggage on it and it follows you up kind of thing. I noticed in Copenhagen, Denmark, where I spent my first night of this big trip before Thailand for 2 weeks, I noticed that they had the similar ramp thing. I don't think we have many of those, if any, in the UK, but correct me if I'm wrong. It's such an easy idea, and I don't know why. You know, it doesn't require any electricity or anything. It's just a slope. It's just a ramp beside the steps. But as I say, you have also got electronic ones where the bag goes up. It just goes up, save you carrying it up the steps. But unfortunately, when I picked exit 6, which was allegedly the nearest one to this hotel, I had to carry up loads of steps with these 3 bags. So then, as soon as I got to the top, it started spitting and raining, and I thought, I've got to get this hotel, I've got to find it. And so, yeah. Now, talking about bags, I will quickly skip to Bangkok and leaving Bangkok. I had underestimated the luggage I had with me, and I thought, okay, they'll let me take this main bag as my carry-on because it's a small case. It's a cabin-sized case, but I already had a couple of other bags which are holders, and I was going to say, well, one's a laptop bag that didn't have much else in it, didn't have much in it in general, and one was another bag, and they said, well, no, we can only accept that, and they said this main case would have to be your cargo one. And the cargo is meant to be maxed at 10 kilograms. It was actually, my bag was 12, so I had to go and empty it out, make it correct. Took a bit of weighing, a few ways, and then I took it to the woman and I said, right, this is lovely people. This was at Bangkok airport, which I can never pronounce, even though I've been to Thailand more times than Korea. Thailand was the reason that I came interested in Korean culture and Asian culture probably about 14 years ago. Where am I? Yes, so they had said to me, look, empty it out, it's only going to be 400 baht, or I thought they said 400 baht, where you can then pay for the cargo, as you can then pay to put it in cargo. I just made sure there's not important stuff that I didn't want to be separated. You do hear these stories of bags going missing. So anyways, I said to her, that's fine. So I corrected the the weight, gave it back to her at 9, just under 10 kilograms, and then she said, okay, that's 4,800 baht, and that is it's around the £100 mark. And I said, well, I can't justify, I can't pay it. I said, I can't pay £100 for this bag. I mean, I knew also that this bag had nothing worth, not even £50 in there. I mean, it was nothing. I couldn't really dump all this stuff. And then they said, okay, we're going to say this bag is just 5 kilograms. We're going to charge you 2,400 baht or whatever. And so I will have to monitor that in my bank and transactions, because I did notice 2 amounts of 50 quid went out or thereabouts, and I will have to make sure one of those gets refunded. So yeah, as I say, I got some food at the airport very briefly. I wouldn't normally, I'd rather get to where my destination, but my hunger from not having eaten for 5 hours on the plane and all this walking around, I was getting peckish, getting hungry, so I had something to eat. And yeah, that's it really. And it's been a learning curve. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to learn from it. Now, the good thing is I'm going to be here in Korea for a couple of months. Now, of course, this is being recorded in the middle of August, but I wanted to stay until two and a half months from now, potentially around the Halloween time back in Thailand. I'm actually thinking, well, maybe although Halloween, I don't really buy into Halloween that much, because I know it's quite an American thing, but it's everywhere now. But I know Thais like it quite a bit, and also not partly because they like all that sort of ghosts and ghouls and stuff, or some of them don't like those things. But it's and of course Korea do as well. But I'm by then I would have almost done my 3 months in Korea, which is the max. So I want to use Bangkok, Thailand as a jumping off point. I've been wanting to do this for years. And just to mention that I stopped off in Thailand. Well, I stopped off in Copenhagen for one night, but I stopped off in Thailand because I didn't want to go from Koreatown, where myself and Tim, we do this podcast, to Korea. I wanted a break. And also, it's immensely expensive to go from London to Korea. And then you've got the risk of the PCR test being positive, which means you potentially could lose everything and miss the reason for coming, which is the film festival, which is why this whole trip is happening. Thankfully, it's given me an excuse to come back to Asia. I've been missing it. It's been over 3 years anyway, under 3.5 years. And so I chose the Thailand route, which was a lot less money, and it meant that you only have to get a very reasonably low price flight from Bangkok to Seoul, to Incheon Airport. And yes, the risk factor's there, but I thought, well, the risk factor money-wise is not so heavy, and also if I'm sensible, I can still avoid having the risk of getting tested positive for COVID. What else happened at the airport that made it 4 hours before I got the train or the metro? As I say, topping up my T-Money card, which I subsequently mislaid in the course of like an hour. It could be somewhere on me, but I couldn't find it anywhere. Come to this hotel, then the film festival has said, can you come a day after tomorrow instead of tomorrow, which is all well and good. I don't mind another night in Seoul instead of going to Jochiwon, which is the town, or Jochiwon, town or area that they're having my film is being shown and other people's films. But it's just, that means I've got to stay another night. I've got loads of friends in Seoul if I wanted to contact somebody. And there's loads of things to do here. Just the frustration of arriving but then taking it so long. I was actually okay with it taking long, because I knew that initially I knew that my check-in time in the hotel was 2 p.m. So that timed quite well, but it was just eventually I was getting so annoyed with not getting out of the metro system, getting annoyed with that SIM card issue, which I should have just bitten the bullet in the first place and paid £44 for unlimited data, rather than search for this SIM card that I knew existed before and maybe still does. A lot of walking, and I do need to catch up on sleep at some point. Now I'm finishing, I said it was after 5 when I started recording this. It's now 1 minute to 6. Oh yes. Of course, there's me talking about rain. It's raining here. In Thailand it was raining. Not so intermittently, it seems, as this. But I remember last time I was in Korea, or one of the times before I was in Korea, bought an umbrella because of the time of year it was. Although I've not been here when it's been this hot, or at least it doesn't feel that hot right now, but I know August is hotter than June when I have been here. So summer months, but different parts of the summer. I had all this stuff with me, 3 bags at Bangkok airport. The taxi driver dropped me off, and I was going to carry my umbrella, which is a nice sturdy one, a bit sort of feminine because, it's Thai. It's just sort of anyone, you can just, nobody cares what kind of umbrella you have really. And it probably cost, I don't know, £2, and it was a sturdy one, not like the Poundland ones you get in the UK, and they break after one use. And I just was going to take it into the airport and take it on the plane. I thought, no, that's not going to work. I can't remember if before I actually managed to take it. It's just one extra item that was going to cause pain. You know, it's the fact that the angle, or just trying to get it in through immigration, through customs and all that kind of stuff. I just said to the taxi driver, do you want this? And he did, he took it. I gave it to him. But what I mean, it's the reverse of what you often hear stories in Korea where people sort of hand you their umbrella. But this was in Bangkok. I was just saying, if you want this, you can have it. I thought, well, if I end up getting one, typical, because I needed, you know, as soon as I got out of Jongno 3 metro system, realised it was spitting, raining a bit. I could have done with an umbrella, but frankly, I probably couldn't have held one anyway, because the amount of stuff I had on me. I'm going to condense, now that I've sorted out the weight in my bag, and I'm not leaving this country for a couple of months at least, I can condense all this back into the bag. It doesn't matter about weight anymore. This bag can still be jam-packed full, and I'll only have one main bag and a rucksack, and that suits me. I even left some stuff in Thailand. A friend of mine, actually a friend who's from Koreatown, who's a filmmaker, fellow filmmaker like me, who we both had films in the Kingston International Film Festival. She's looking after some stuff because it's not essential. I'm gonna, as I said before, I'm gonna pop back to Bangkok afterwards. That's gonna be my base for another month or so before deciding whether I go to India or where else. This has kind of become this sort of Korea, Thailand thing. Which is interesting as well. One last thing, because there's Retired Working For You. It's a YouTube channel who does videos relating to Thailand and Bangkok and Koh Samui and Thailand in general, and he's now doing some relating to Korea. His wife is Korean, he's Canadian. He used to have a reggae bar in Itaewon about 25 years ago. And what's bizarre about all this is I'm flitting backwards and forwards between Thailand and Korea, back to Thailand, and you know, as I said, my love for Korean culture and stuff came from Thailand. Even though they're very different, there's similarities a lot. I've got to thank Thailand for, a lot to be grateful for, getting me into sort of Asian culture, Asian films and whatnot. One more update. I just checked my emails, and yes, I'm negative, so that's fine. So there you go. I got tested in Bangkok, I was negative, and I got tested in Seoul, or rather Incheon Airport, and I was negative. So that's one less worry. I'm living a bit late notice because I've got to be with the film festival. They have actually just said to me as well, they've actually just messaged me between in the last minute or two that I should come down to Jochiwon tomorrow, the day after me recording this, of course. Probably the 20th, I might as well say when this is, it's the 20th of August. So yeah, so that's going to be interesting. They're going to sort out the accommodation there. So yeah, looking forward to it. Now, one more thing, and I am roaming the streets of Jongno 3, or at least very close to my hotel, that area. One more thing I was meant to mention, or I might have done in the recording that got lost. But masks, coming back to masks. Now, Korea is very strict on all this stuff, as you can guess, with the PCRs and all that. But one thing I noticed, as soon as I am trying to wave to somebody in the restaurant there, not sure if it's acknowledged, that as soon as I checked in, I took off my mask. It's a kind of a habit I have sometimes to take off my mask so that I can speak, so they can understand it, and, you know, so I just feel better speaking so that people can see your mouth moving, and you know, you haven't got that, you've got a bit of glass between two masks, between two mouths. But as soon as I did put that down, of course she did say, please put your mask back up, and that was happening, you know, a few times as soon as I got on the plane, and it's understandable, but it was without, even in a food place. I got some food, as I mentioned, just outside the station, and so just outside the airport, but sorry, part of the airport really, part of the airport road. And as soon as I did the same thing, not to eat the food, obviously you can take your mask off to eat your food, but as soon as I did that, you know, it's like, please put your mask back up. And again, no disrespect to Korea, but it's very, you know, they're very hot on it, especially in certain places. I'm obviously not wearing one right now as I speak into this recording device and my phone and what have you, But I just feel like no, it's good. It's good. It's just it was kind of it's within a split second, within a second or two of you actually doing it. It's kind of no, it's not like oh, do you mind just putting that up? It's like, could you please, it's pretty much an instruction. Put your mask back up. Korea, the numbers haven't been great lately, so they're being hot on it. Them and Thailand are going back to the link between Thailand and Korea. They've been pretty, they've had hands-on, well, not hands-on experience, but hands-on the fingers on the pulse even, of keeping, I'm not sure, they were the ones at the beginning keeping things under control. And, sometimes the only way you could do that is by, basically by, doing what you can to prevent the spread. And that would be the mask. First instance, that's pretty, we can wash your hands and stuff, but the mask is what we breathe, it's what we breathe. I mean, the hands get infected and affected as well. And they should be disinfected. But it's the oxygen, that we all breathe as well. So, yeah, that was it. That's my lot. I think that would be the final part to this. Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. So that's all from us. 안녕히 계세요.